Very happy to be here, Helsinki, this morning. I flew in from Stockholm. I'm Swede, based out of Stockholm, Sweden. So when I told my son that I was going to Finland, he started talking about his hockey game and his hockey training and the Finns, etc. And I was more curious about reading about the NATO discussions in both our countries. But very happy to be here and meeting you today. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we help customers build data fabrics to unlock the power of hybrid cloud. I assume that with this session just before lunch you heard the word cloud so many times, but hang in there for another 20 minutes and I'll try to be a little bit more tangible how we see customers using our technology to actually realize what's been shown on many of those slides today. So I'm from Netapp. Netapp is 30 years, coming up to 30 years now, and we've been known for being in the traditional data center, working with storage, SAN and NAS environments in the data centers. Nowadays, we moved along over the past 8 to 10 years. 8 years ago, we started off what we call the project data to build the data fabrics. Now we hear some competitors are picking up on that as well, and we're really happy to see that customers, partners are validating our journey in this market. So nowadays we are a cloud-led, data-centric software company. Everything we do focus on bringing out tools to help customers consume and use the cloud in a better way, both public clouds or building their own private clouds or something in between. We focus with the data. We focus on the data, of course, and we bring out our value as software wherever it resides, on our physical hardware, on our public cloud friends, or in the software in between. So why do we do this? Yeah, our purpose is to help you, the customers, to lead with data, to use the data to create the value, the applications, the use cases, and the value for your customers to excel in your respective markets. I guess that you heard it before. So we do not do this just because we're a cool engineering company and have cool technologies. It's very much thought behind it. So we asked the markets together with IDC what is happening out there a couple of years ago. And we found out that the companies using data, we call them the data thrivers, are really the ones that are excelling in digital transformation. So we try to focus in on them and see how can we help them. And they tell us, IDC together with its customers tell us that these guys are capitalizing on cloud more than any other customers. So of course, okay, let's see how we can help out here. And it's not all rushing into the public clouds. It's a hybridity between different type public clouds, but also combined with on-prem private clouds. So this is the de facto standard. This is the foundation that we're coming from. Okay, we identify the customers, where they're going, so how can we help you? What's important for them, and it's been touched on a couple of times today, is the speed to value. How do you, as a customer, how do you create value out of the data that you have? That might be a streaming service sending music on the internet. That might be a traveling agency that has the data about whatever travels are possible. You have an idea of what to do with that data, and you would like to capitalize creating value out of that data as fast as possible. And that's why these customers are moving to cloud. They're moving to cloud fast to create applications, to digitalize, to use that data in a digitalized way to create value out of that. And of course, we're in the IT industry, so underneath this application development towards the value of the data lies infrastructure, both for application piece, data center infrastructure, data, and even more so the organization. How do we set up our operations moving into this cloud world? For us, we've been 30 years in the industry. We are covering all these pillars. There are still customers, not data thrivers, that are focusing on the traditional IT. There are most portion of you are in the virtualized IT world, building not only infrastructure, but also organizations and processes based out of these foundations. And there are customers that are cloud native, starting off on the rightmost pillar, only consuming cloud. And most of our customers are exploring a little bit of everything, actually. So I guess if you look at this, you can place yourself. Most likely you are in the middle or middle towards the right. Since you are on a hybrid cloud summit, you're most likely intrigued and interested about what's cooking over to the right. For us, it's clear. No matter where you are on this journey on digital transformation, data is in its core. It's where the value renders from. And it's also one of the most challenging pieces when you are trying to move to the rightmost side of this chart. That's why we help customers look at this challenge and build fabrics to be able to move back and forth in these dimensions. So what can it look like when customers trying to, okay, let's jump to the rightmost cloud IT, cloud operations possible? They look at something like this, all the Lego pieces of building that IT environment. A lot of applications, you find some of these part of your business, they fire up some applications, start play with it, say, this can really create value out of my data. But where is the data? It might be somewhere else. When we look at the data, we see this. Data is everywhere. It's used across applications. It's used across different pieces of the value chain. So this is also one angle to the data fabric challenge. So if you take one of these pieces, move it to public cloud, these lines of integration of data stretches, of course. So this is where we look at it from the application side of the house and help customers explore this. So we've been working with this since 2014. We started off with a vision and a project, and now we're 8 years along the line to create technologies and tools to achieve a better way to address this. And we just recently touched base with IDC again, saying that, okay, what fundamentals are there to do this journey in the right way? And this can be found on the first Google search for cloud fundamentals for done right from IDC. And it reiterates that it is a challenge. It is a very wide and diversified set of applications and tools to be used. But it's not who has the most cloud instances that win. It who is the customer that doing this with less efforts and more speed in the right way. It also reiterates the fact that having control and flexibility of the data sets the destiny of the digital destiny of yours. So, with this background, what do we do and where do we find ourselves? So, we've been working with a data fabric vision and strategy and project for 8 years now. We stepped into all the major public cloud vendors to offer our technology as a first-party service from Microsoft and Amazon. We're developing constantly all our technologies towards bringing a tool set to you to be able to build the data fabric. Two main important things. We've been doing data protection for 30 years, and that is one key enterprise value that customers moving into the clouds is requiring. Efficiency, cost efficiency, performance, availability, backup and DR, security, all the things that we've done in your data centers for years, we bring to the cloud. And a fact that the arrow goes the other way around is that all the simplicity, all the operational setup, how you consume something as a service, the delegation of data access, storage to the squads and the teams that is working with that in the new application model is key. So we're also bringing down the simplicity from the public clouds and high-level orchestration into the data centers as they are today. So our customers are looking at the data fabric, says partners up with Netapp and our partners like Arrow to see where are we, where do we start, what should we use from these pieces. It is clear that in almost all discussions a couple of years ago started with, yes, we have a cloud-first strategy. Let's go figure out how to do things in the cloud. This has matured, and nowadays we're seeing most of our discussions with customers starting with one or two applications or use cases where they want to investigate where to go, right or left in this picture. So pick a database. A lot of SAP are moving to the cloud. A lot of disaster recovery backups are moving to the cloud. We like to consume some AI capabilities in the cloud, and discussion is going back and forth. Where did we start? Some customers, as I said, explore, take some first steps into the cloud to see, is this us? Is this working for these systems? Some customers move the majority of the part to consumption models in the cloud, but keep some of it locally. And most of our customers are somewhere in between on the journey to build a data fabric. So where do I start? The customers ask. This is nice, fluffy clouds, and yes, I agree. I believe that I would like to understand how other customers are capitalizing and rendering this value out of using a data fabric for the environment. So no customer is the other like. So we see different journeys into the data fabric. Where do I start, more practically? Most often we talk about technologies. What is the tool look like in Amazon or Azure? How can I store the backup from on-premises to cloud? How can I integrate this with my application development, etc.? Those are technologies. We are more and more trending towards the left piece of having a discussion about, okay, we can do all of this. What is really our strategy? So we're starting discussions already there with all our years of experience with customers building data fabrics and moving to hybrid multi-cloud. So this is one piece. Then, of course, the upper integrate, automate, and protect. Key pieces of how do we build a data fabric? What components have we? What hyperscalers are we using? How do we connect on-prem to cloud? How do we make those red lines in the application chart? We don't have the time. Speed to value is important. We need to automate and use APIs and automation to move there fast. And in the same time, we need enterprise capabilities to back up and restore because it's super critical applications and data that we're moving to the clouds. So some of our customers, we help just building the data fabric components on the upper right corner. Once they've done that, migration is actually a big challenge over here. Since we are using our technologies in the hyperscalers, we have the same technology on both sides. So 30 years again, we've been moving data from A to B to backup, to disaster protect an environment, to do replication for application developers. So we use the same tool underneath to do the heavy lifting of data from the traditional workloads into a data fabric. We actually spend a lot of time building migration factories for our customers because our technology helps customers moving into the data fabric faster than any other technology. Once you're in a data fabric, you built it with the components, and I will give you some examples soon. Of course, you like to have that renders the flexibility, as IDC said. The other is control. Those are the three lower left components. technologies to discover, understand what you have, no matter where it's in one of those or all of those public clouds. You need to understand how much are consumed. Are there any components that is not used but we pay for? Are they secure? Where is my data? Is it secured? Security is a big thing, I understand, especially today. So these are also components. And it's an evolving journey. If we build a data fabric, we optimize, secure, and discover, then there are new workloads coming in, workloads going out. Maybe we move some pieces back to the data centers because it makes sense from a cost perspective. Of course, I'm representing a vendor with a lot of tools, as I said, but I will not go through our products and technologies per se, but we do develop all our technologies all the way from the traditional pieces in the on-premises in the middle, our first-party services in the clouds like Azure Netapp Files from Microsoft in Oslo, for instance, or FSx from the AWS centers in Stockholm, where you can fire up a Netapp CVO in the Google centers here in Finland. To all the components of syncing and migrating, replicating, the cloud manager pieces, the optimization with REST APIs and Astra and the Spot Ocean up there, cloud backup service for those that only would like to buy that kind of pieces. A breadth of a portfolio to help you build this once the strategy and the governance model is set. I see that time flies. I will end my presentation, but just give you a couple of examples what this looks like, because I guess you've seen cloud strategies, models that are pretty theoretical. We are happy to see that we actually moved that needle for the past 8 years to provide a lot of technologies and tools to actually build the data fabrics. So this is an example. If you go to cloud.netapp.com, you can read all about it. Arrow have a lot of insight into this as well. So let's work together to enable you even more. A customer going into cloud.netapp.com can start up, and this is not a mock-up. This is actually a recording from our tool, Cloud Manager, to get control, to consume capacities from different hyperscalers, to fire off a virtual cloud volumes ONTAP instance in one of the hyperscalers, to discover already consumed ANF in Azure or FSxN in Amazon, to see how Cloud Backup Service is pushing data from the on-premises to one of those clouds or back. Really powerful tool to easily see the strategy of yours. That is infrastructure as a service. That is most often used by newcomers to NetApp, or even existing customers starting to explore taking steps out in the data fabric. For our cloud native customers who do not touch on-premises environments, they are more into the compute instances in the hyperscalers, the container consumptions, etc. It is a huge task to understand what you're consuming and what you pay for it. So we have something called Spot, which is another portfolio of products or tools for cloud native customers. You can discover and visualize the use of compute instances, object storage, Spot storage, container environments, visualize where it is and what you're paying for it. It also suggests cost savings. You might move to different, more cost-efficient compute instances, etc. And we can optimize it all the way to say that you should save this amount of money if you do so. All the way to Spot Ocean, that it runs on Spot instances that actually consume the very cheapest compute instance at that time. The beauty of this tool is that we do not charge for it. You do not buy it. If you save money, if you use the tool and you save money, then we share that by getting a small percentage of that saving of yours. So if you do not save any money, you do not pay us. We only value the savings as such. And finally, for the non-cloud native customers, another set of tools to monitor, get the flexibility and the control over the environments. We have Cloud Insights, which is more focused on the traditional setup of VMs and databases, etc. This finds unused capacity both on-prem or in the cloud. It might suggest that it's better to move this workload from the public cloud to the on-prem environment because of cost. It helps you all the way to the fact, since we are governing all the data surrounding the data, we can also add Cloud Secure on top of that to support not only the built-in entropy engines of our operating systems on files to say that, oh, here's a ransomware attack going on. It can also track user behavior as a more complete ransomware protection portfolio, all the way to Cloud Data Sense that can look at the data saying that, yes, this data should not reside in the public cloud because it's of such and such nature for our guidelines, our policies, etc. This data should not be here at all because it's totally against our policies. This tool is actually a starting point for understanding where the data is to embark your cloud journey with the data fabric. So, with that, just a final quick one, an example. We're more than happy to talk about all our customers that are already building the data fabrics. This is a big manufacturer of building materials in Europe that is not so carbon neutral, but they are tasked to be carbon neutral in 2050. And of course, IT should do their piece. There's a lot of other carbon neutrality things to do in that industry. But the IT team was set to do this task as well. In short, they cut off the second data center, moved it to the cloud. They used Netapp Data Fabric technologies to build their data fabric and run the backup into Microsoft Azure for the VMware environment. Not only did they take a good step towards reducing the carbon footprint, they actually also saved money by moving into an operating expense model. More than happy to dive into details on our customer examples, but time is up. I hope you had a short view of what can be done to build the data fabric.